Hey, this is Brighter Rays. This week we're looking at Genesis chapter 48, and the study's called Ephraim and Manasseh, which is probably pretty obvious. So, if you remember last time, we saw that the family of Joseph, who was just settling in Egypt, that's what they were doing. They had made the long journey from Canaan on the wagons of Pharaoh with Judah before them, and Joseph appeared before the Pharaoh on behalf of his family and brought 5 of his brothers. Pharaoh asked them, "What is your occupation?" And they answered, "We are shepherds." They requested that they might settle in the land of Goshen, and there they would keep their animals. The land of Canaan had been hit hard by the famine, just like Egypt, and they were looking for refuge. They were looking for a place where they could keep their animals. Well, the Pharaoh welcomed the family of Joseph into his country and granted their request to reside in Goshen. He also gave the responsibility of keeping his livestock to the able men of Israel. After the matter of establishing residency in Egypt was complete, Jacob was invited to come before the Pharaoh. So Jacob explained to Pharaoh that his days were few and evil, and before he left, he spoke a blessing over the Pharaoh. In the following scene, Joseph was shown to us as the manager of Pharaoh's house and the savior of the people. The Pharaoh prospered during the famine, and the people were all fed by the hand of Joseph. The wise and discerning man followed the dreams that God gave to Pharaoh, and the people survived the 7 years of brutal famine. Then we began the closing act of the book of Genesis. In verse 47-29, we were told that the time drew near that Israel must die. Old age had come upon him, and his strength and his vision were beginning to wane. And so Jacob called Joseph to his side and made him solemnly swear that he would bury his body not in Egypt, but in the family burying place in Canaan. To this Joseph swore. With this promise, Jacob bows his head in worship to God. As we open chapter 48 of the book of Genesis, we have a phrase that denotes a passage of time. We're not given the length of time here, between 47 and 48, but it appears that Joseph had returned back to his duties and would have to be summoned to his father's bedside again. So, many of you have experienced the loss of loved ones. Working in hospice and also as a chaplain has allowed me to be present in the last hours of life for many people. Some pass quickly before I can even get to their bedside, and others, visited many times as the family kept vigil over them, and still others slowly slipped away over months. And Jacob seems to have been in the latter category as he began to feel the cold of death approaching him. He had been given the gift of being able to set all of his affairs in order, to be able to, at the end of his life, bless his family, bless his children, to make sure, he made his own funeral arrangements. So he had all that in order before he died. And that was a gift. That's a blessing to be able to do that. So as we look at chapter 48, we find Jacob performing his fatherly duties as he sets his family in order. First, in verses 1-7, Jacob adopts Ephraim and Manasseh as his sons. In status, these young men are really elevated to the level as Reuben and the other sons of Israel. Really, they take the place. We'll talk about that another time, but they really take the place of Reuben in the family. And then we're going to look in verses 8-22, where Jacob blesses the sons of Joseph. So that's what we're looking at this week. So come back next time, and we'll start in verse 1.